Good morning. We are ready for section 14.2, and on the worksheet you will be able to use your calculator. Woohoo! So you might want to have your calculator out. Alright, so this section is kind of short. It's pretty easy. We are doing conversions using proportions. Okay, say you measured an edge of your garden. It was 72 inches long. You want to buy edging to go along that edge, which is sold by the foot. How many feet of edging do you need? In order to figure out how many feet, then you need to convert 72 inches to feet. That is, you need to figure out how to describe 72 inches using feet as your unit of measurement instead. Any ideas on how to do that? All right, there's different ways, but we'll look at this at the conversion thing. Think back, remember when we were doing ratios and proportions, okay? We've seen a ratio is the relative size of two quantities expressed as the quotient of one divided by the other, or basically a fancy name for using division to compare quantities. A proportion is two equal ratios. So let's use ratio to compare how inches and feet relate. Now we know there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So we could write this ratio as a fraction, 12 inches over 1 foot. Okay, or you could do 1 foot to 12 inches. Doesn't matter, it's a ratio. Okay, all right, let's turn the page. Now, skip the gray box for a second and look in the very center. Now we've expressed the relationship between inches and feet as a ratio. No, we haven't, because I guess the gray box is going to do it. It's important, let's look at the gray box. It's important to note this ratio is really worth 1. After all, 12 inches and 1 foot represent the same distance, just in different units. This means that we really could substitute either one for the other in the ratio. When we do, we see that the ratio is really worth 1, as any number divided by itself equals 1. So you could substitute 12 for 1 foot, and it'd be 12 inches to 12 inches, which equals 1. Or you could substitute 1 foot for 12 inches, and you have 1 foot over 1 foot, which equals 1. So either way you look at it, 12 over 1 or 1 over 2, it's 1 unit, because those are the same. Does that make sense? In this course, we'll refer to a ratio between two units that is worth 1 as a conversion ratio. It shows us how the two units compare. So your conversion ratio between inches and feet is either 12 inches to 1 foot or 1 foot to 12 inches. Now we've expressed that. It's easy to convert 72 inches to feet. So you just set it up. There's your proportion set up right there. 12 inches over 1 foot equals 72 inches over blank feet. Now you can think through what number would finish creating an equivalent ratio. Since 72 divided by 12 is 6, we simply multiply 6 over 6, form the equivalent ratio. So then you get 12 times 6 is 72, so you have to do the same on the bottom. 1 times 6 is 6. So you would need 6 feet. Now notice that in both ratios, I'm at the bottom in the gray box. Both ratios, we've put inches in the numerator and feet in the denominator. We could have reversed it if we'd have done it the other way. Okay, but you have to be consistent. We couldn't put feet in the numerator in one ratio and in the denominator in the other. We'd no longer be comparing like to like units. Okay, so at the very top of 283 shows you what not to do, where it's circled and a line drawn through it. You wouldn't do that. You have to keep it the same. Okay? Now, watch your units. When doing problems, pay attention to the units that are used and make sure to include the units in your answer. An answer without units when units were involved will be considered partially incorrect, as you've not included what that number represents. So watching your units carefully will serve you well, both in real life and upper level sciences. So make sure when you put your answers, make sure you always, especially now that we're doing measurements, make sure you always put the unit that it is. Inches, feet, yards, whatever it is. Okay? All right, so your assignment then is going to be worksheet 14.2. Again, I said you can use your calculator. It looks like on the whole page. Should be pretty easy. We're just using proportions to get the answers. And you should know proportions frontwards and backwards. If you do need help, you run into problems, let me know. Okay, that's all for today.